Hello, BookTube. I wanted to start this video with a slight clarification before we move forward to the unstructured free-for-all that this Stevestream will certainly be. But before I even get to the clarification, I want the rest of you to indulge me for just 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, in a rant that I simply have to get off my chest. It has nothing to do with books, has nothing to do with writing, it has to do with, it doesn't even have anything to do with politics. It has to do with Donald Trump, the man, the creep. I've been thinking about it all day because, like a lot of you, I saw a clip from one of his depositions in the rape case that is unfolding against him in Manhattan right now, where he he reiterates what he has said over and over again, which is that the reason that he couldn't have raped E. Jean Carroll is because she's not pretty enough. He's not his type. If she was type, then he would rape her, but she's not, so she doesn't get that privilege. He stops in the middle of saying that again to say it to the lawyer in the room to say, "You're not my type either." The easily audible implication being, "I wouldn't rape you either." Not only did he say that, but he was then shown a picture, a group of people from 30 years ago, 40 years ago. He said his usual brain dribblings about what he does or doesn't know about who the people are in the picture. But at one point, unhesitatingly, immediately, without any doubt at all, he says, "That's Marla. That's my wife." He is, first of all, referring to Marla Maples, who's not his wife. She's not his wife. His wife is Melania, the woman he bought in Slovenia. She's not his wife. But not only that, but it wasn't Melania. It wasn't Marla Maples. It was E. Jean Carroll. It was the woman that he has claimed over and over again he didn't rape because she's not hot enough to merit the privilege. And in a photograph, unprompted, with no script, no Stephen Miller speaking anti Semitic lies in his ears, just himself, unhesitatingly said, identified E. Jean Carroll as a woman who, back in the 80s, he bragged to every person in Manhattan was going to be his wife because he found her attractive, because she was his type. I just had to rant about it, not just because it ought to sink this case. I mean, a first year, a law student could win a conviction against this guy now. He's against just on that moment alone, to say nothing of any contemporaneous corroboration of E. Jean Carroll's story or anything else. It a first year law student should be able to get this and the maximum amount of damages. It can't be anything criminal. It'll be money. And as commentators have pointed out, the maximum it could possibly be is a couple of $1 million. And commentators have pointed out that it won't take Trump more than a couple of hours to raise a couple of $1 million uh, from his cult, from the followers who will follow him no matter what. I'm not really talking about the conviction here. I'm talking about the cult. I'm talking about the people who are still following this creep even after this clip. This is the kind of bragging, stupid, abusive lout that if you heard him talking that way in a bar about someone else, not even talking to you, you would tell your friends, "Hold on a minute." You would stand up, go over, grab him by the scruff of his neck, and throw him out and tell him not to come back in, or you'll do worse. He's exactly that kind of person. You wouldn't allow a daughter, a wife, a sister to be in the same room with him unmonitored. You wouldn't allow it to happen. He said in the same deposition that stars, among whose ranks he counts himself, have been doing this sort of sexual molestation and rape to women for a million years. And then he said, unfortunately, or fortunately, because even in that last moment, even talking about something that in that deposition he says is the very worst thing that anyone could do to anyone else, the lizard part of his brain is thinking, well, I don't want to lose the rapist vote. Just, my rant isn't about the politics, and it isn't about the law case either. Although, if he is convicted, regardless of how much he's asked to pay, it means we're going to have a presidential candidate who's a convicted rapist. It's not even about that. It's about the cult. It's about not just the women. No woman in America should vote for this guy. Obviously not. Not just because he is spearheading a revanchist, completely openly fascist Republican reign that wants to strip women of all of their rights, not just so-called reproductive rights, but the right to vote, the right to divorce Stephen Crowder if they want to, the right to do anything. Not just that, but because he hates women. He obviously he is. I'm not talking about the women here. I'm talking about the guys. I'm talking about the men out there in America. There are probably 65 million men in America who still won't abandon this guy. They still won't drop him, even though this was not a speech. This was not fake news. There was no media present. This was just the guy saying, first of all, I'm obviously lying. She was exactly my type back in when this event happened. But also, that there's nothing wrong with it. It could be fortunate that women have been raped by men for a million years. That might be unfortunate, or it might be fortunate. Who knows? It depends on which way the rapists vote in 2024. What I don't understand, the subject of this little rant, before we get on to the subject at hand, is how can any self-respecting man stick with this guy? They have wives, they have sisters, they have aunts, they have daughters. How can they do it after having seen this? And of course, the answer to my question is they won't see it. They won't see it. They have narrowed the intake of outside sources in their world to just a couple, literally two or one source, and that source will not show it to them. They'll never know. They won't know. They won't see the clip and they won't know the context. But I swear. I mean, I know that I've been saying for a couple of years that this is no longer about politics. When Trump organized and orchestrated an armed insurrection to overthrow the government and execute his vice president, this stopped being about politics. And it hasn't gone back. He is promising retribution, he is promising violence. And he's obviously not going to leave office if he's voted back into office. Um, I've been saying that for years, that this isn't about politics anymore. This just reinforces that. If you watch this clip, I don't care about your sunk cost fallacy. I don't care about owning the libs or about he was good for the economy. He certainly wasn't. But I don't care about any of that. I care about just on a guy to guy level. This is the guy at the bar you would punch. He's the one you would punch on principle. It wouldn't matter to you if he agreed with you on every subject under the sun. You would grab him and throw him face first out the door. That's just what you're seeing on that video. This has nothing to do with political posturing. This has nothing to do with holding a Klan rally on the anniversary of the destruction of the Waco compound. This is just, he's that guy. You would punch him on principle. Anyway, all right. Wipe the foam of my mouth. Let's wipe the foam off my mouth and turn to our subject. I just had to vent because this is not politics. The guy in that deposition clip is nothing to do with politics. This is just a creep, just a violent, abusive, stupid, lying creep of a type I have never yet in my I've never met Nick Fuentes, but I've never yet in my life met a man in America, Democrat, Republican, or otherwise, who wouldn't have hated the guy in that clip. Maybe they must be out there. 65 million of them must be out there, but I've never met one. I've been all over this country. I've never met a man who wouldn't have been absolutely violently revolted by what he saw in that clip. The first thing he would think would not be, is this going to make Rachel Maddow mad? The first thing he would think would be, that's my daughter he's talking about. That's my sister he's talking about. Forget this guy. I'll find somebody else to vote for. Anyway, all right, okay, all right. So, all right, we can turn to this. Now that I'm done, I had to get that off my chest. Now we can turn to the subject at hand, which is not writing. The subject last night was writing, and that caused a few misunderstandings that have surfaced in my emails. And bless your heart, I believe the Southern lady's expression would be "bless your heart," because a lot of people thought from that video that I was asking for advice with writing. Uh, that's not true. I want you to do a little thought experiment with me. Picture your grandparents. You remember your grandparents, these dignified old people that you knew. Maybe they're still alive. Maybe unfortunately they've died of old age. When they were younger, when they were about what your age now, with the Vietnam War raging in the background and stagflation happening around every corner, they decided to have kids. They were young. He had a handlebar mustache. They decided to have kids. And your grandmother was pregnant, and then uh, there was a child born, and let's say two sets of people. One was your father, and one was your mother. They were tiny little pink babies, wrinkled faces, couldn't see, crying their eyes out. And then slowly, gradually, over months, they learned to sit up and to focus on things and then to crawl across the floor. And the grandparents in question, the parents here, were overjoyed at every milestone. Oh my God, you were at work, you missed, he said his first word, et cetera, et cetera. And then those children eventually start running around the neighborhood, and then they go to grade school, and there are scraped knees and measles and first loves and first crushes. And then they go to high school. And there's all sorts of more stuff, competition, puberty, all sorts of awards to win. The subject of college starts to loom. It's a long time. The parents are getting grayer and slower. The children, those two children, eventually go to college and they meet and they kind of like the look of each other. And one thing leads to another. They both graduate and then they decide to let nature take its course. And 9 months later, you are born. All that time. So Vietnam War now is a distant memory. You're born in the shadow of the invasion of Grenada. You grow up. Here's the thought experiment that I want you to keep in mind. Those grandparents, when they were young parents, he had a bushy mustache, she had a beehive hairdo. When they were young parents, before they conceived you, your parents, when they were young parents and your parents were just conceived and crawling around on the rug, I was writing for money. Okay. So last night's Stevestream was not me asking for advice on writing. I very much appreciate the heart of the people who wrote and said, well, it really helps to come up with background characters for your background stories for your characters. Try writing 2 or 3 pages. You got this. or it might help you to just dispense with the plot for a while and just come up with a wild idea off the top of your head, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That is not what I was asking last night. I was not asking for writing advice. Hence the clarification for the title of this Steve stream. I was asking for publishing advice. I've got the writing thing down, or if I don't, then I'm never going to, because I want you to keep in mind those little babies. Your parents are now old. They're great. When they were little babies, I was writing for a living. So I don't need that advice. I need advice on publishing. And maybe nobody in the chat. Oh my God. Oh my God. There's a chat. Oh my God. It's like there's 60 people here. Oh God. And I can't find them all because I'll lose the chat. Here, let's start where we should, where all chat should start, with Randy Ray. It's horrifying how popular he still is. Oh, you must mean Trump. Sorry about the opening rant. I had to vent to somebody, and who better than my imaginary booktube friends? I have family members who insist that he was trying to save the country. Yeah, yeah, trying to save the country. Jenny Parks, hi, Stephen Frieda. Reading by the river. Hello, Stephen Frieda. Enjoying the rant, or as my sons say, toot, as mom is on a toot. Yes, well, toot is over. Toot sweet. The toot is over. That reading guy, are these the kind of rants you withhold from us when opening mail? We need more rants, not less. No, no, the rants that I withhold when opening mail that cause me not to upload the video are all the other side of the spectrum. This rant is about a cult that is enabling far right, arch right fascism, military fascism. Stephen Miller does not want Donald Trump elected in a landslide. Stephen Miller wants Donald Trump in the Oval Office so that Donald Trump can start writing legislation to make it impossible for him to get out of the Oval Office. Stephen Miller has recognized that the United States does not have a mechanism. It's too big and varied a country. It doesn't have a mechanism for a military takeover. Trump needs to get into office and then take over the country. And Miller knows that. That's far revanchist right. That's as extreme as fascism gets. Those are the dreams of Hitler in jail, dreaming of I am your retribution and get rid of the globalists. No, I'm talking about the other end of the spectrum. We're all in the middle. We're all normal people who can disagree and argue with each other and still have fun. We're all in the middle. I'm talking about the other end of the other end of the spectrum. The far left fascist end of the spectrum is the end that always caused me to go on a rant that I can't upload, because ranting about the far right, the fascism that Trump is dreaming of enacting on the country, won't get you banned from YouTube. It won't get you sued. It won't get you deplatformed or unemployed. And the stuff on the other end of the spectrum will, very much will. So anyway, Evil Joshu, it's because feeling powerful is more important to them than being decent. I Maybe you're right, but I didn't want there to be that many people. That's a serious moral defect. I wanted that to be maybe 1,000 people out of 350 million, not 80 million or 120 million, but 1,000 people. Um, Jeffrey Clark, it's because hate is more powerful than morality. I'd like to think not. But uh, Randy Ray agreed, more rants, not fewer. Well, but isn't there a case to be made that people don't come to my booktube channel for rants, for angry rants, especially about politics or about whether or not men should be allowed to compete in women's sports, or whether or not there is such a thing as a man and a woman? I don't think people come to this channel for that. The live streams people can just skip. But anyway, J. Scott Phillips. Very satisfying Trump rant. Let's also get the coronation chat out of the way. Then maybe a minute or two on publishing, and then back to comic books. So I get you a comic book video today. I did a comic book video today, and I had a blast. I swear, if I just didn't care about readers and viewers and what they want, I would make a video every day about comic books, about some one issue from the millions that have happened. But I don't have anything to say about the coronation. I was worried, really worried, from a little bit of scuttlebutt that I heard in a few quarters, that a serious terrorism attempt was going to be made. And for all I know, it was. And the Secret Service, the British Secret Service, was just on top of it. Now, the only negative side was a beautiful event, and of course, like everybody else, I loved the moment where you can clearly lip read the new king thanking his son for kissing him on the cheek. It was a tender moment from a man who's been vilified for not being a good father, and it was also, as for those who are old enough to remember, a classic callback to the moment between Charles and Queen Elizabeth when he did the same thing to her uh, at her coronation. No, the only dark part had nothing to do directly with the coronation. It was last summer. Some of you may remember, especially you in the UK. Last summer, a whole bunch of legislation was pushed through Parliament that essentially turns uh, London into a police state when it comes to protests. No protests are allowed. And if there's any chance that they're going to inconvenience or bother anyone, that's actual wording in the law. If they're going to inconvenience or bother anyone, they're forbidden. And the police are allowed to disappear protesters, take them, don't read them any rights, don't advise them of anything, don't identify yourself, don't tell anybody where they're going, and keep them for an undisclosed amount of time in the shadow of the glory of the coronation. We're talking about another drift to hard right fascism has just been happening. I can't believe that legislation went through, and we saw it. There's all sorts of footage now. So, but anyway, Paul Marin, well, not the real Paul Marin, though. A Paul Marin. Oh wait, did I lose you? Nick Fuentes, wasn't he in Menudo with Ricky Martin? No, no, he's a Nazi. This is not a case where, oh, you call everybody you hate Nazis. He's an actual Nazi. He hates the Jews, wish they'd all died in the Holocaust, loves Hitler, thinks it was a great guy. And stop licking, man. Stop licking. He was briefly in the news because I guess Kanye West is actually going to do a run for the presidency in 2024. And there was a squabble over who's going to get to feed him his thoughts. Uh, and Nick Fuentes lost, so he was briefly in the news. Lou G, Southern lady here, you are correct. Bless your heart would be the proper response. Well, I mean it in the kindest way, but for people to email me with, buck up, you got this, champ, advice about how to write, for God's sake. What I want you all to remember is my thought experiment. Your parents were little babies crawling around on the rug when I was earning money writing. So, that's odd for a sexy 28-year-old, but nevertheless. Uh, that reading guy, Steve, my grandparents go by they, them pronouns. How dare you assume otherwise? No, 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 no. Your grandparents are from a sane century. So are mine. So am I. It's the point I wanted. One of the points I wanted to make, obviously, this has gone off the rails right away, is that we're all sane. We all have all of the sympathies and normal human compassionate responses that are being preyed on by both ends of the spectrum. And anyway, Gola Muad'Dib is here. Are you trying to tell us you're not 27? No, I'm 28. 27. Come on, that's not realistic. Now is it? Nick Piccarilli, people sending Steve writing advice is amazing. Did they recommend books too? No, I got no book recommendations, no. But people misunderstood last night's Stevestream. That's the safest way to put it. They misunderstood it as me asking for writing advice. I was not asking for writing advice. I was kind of canvassing around for publishing advice. What to do if I want to, let's say I either have or I want to generate a manuscript, polish it up and publish it. I was saying for years on this channel that I would try that. And I haven't done it. And I think in 2023 I would like to do it. I'd like to put a price tag on it. I'd like to see something about that makes it seem more viable. I don't know why. Something about it does. I do this for free. I do YouTube. I do BookTube for free. Today, I mean, 3 hours of videos. I don't ask anything for that. I don't monetize that at all. And the rest of you very studiously avoid my struggling little Patreon. So that writing, I think this next stage, I would like to do something else. I'd like to do it, see if I can put a price tag on it and make it work. Not to make me rich, but just to see. Uh, uh, but anyway, Paul Marin is back. In the 21st century, grandmama can be the surrogate for her womb impaired daughter. Spaminator, people giving you writing advice, right? And here I've been begging you to do videos giving writing advice. Well, maybe this video will get out to. It was an honest misunderstanding. There was no condescension involved, but I had a good chuckle with the bean, nevertheless. Didn't I, baby? Huh? Didn't I? Oh. The Spaminator's back. I liked how the new queen kept fixing her hair under the crown. Uh, let's see here. That reading guy. The coronation started at 3 a.m. for me, and I still watched it all. Well, of course, I would argue that you should. I would argue that you should. I mean, this is the coronation of a monarch of England. That's a rare thing, considering how long the Windsor women live. I think I was going to say the chance to watch a King of England crowned is a once in a lifetime thing, but obviously I don't think it will be in this case. I don't think it will be. I mean, Charles is old. He's an old man. So William will be crowned in our lifetimes. So, but anyway, Leo Percar, those rants are what took you out of CPL radio. I'm sure some blue hair booktuber showed a couple of your more ranty videos and the library administrators got a little scared. Maybe. Not from what I've heard. I've heard it was just a question of money and petty control on the part of the library director. That it was popular and she didn't like that. But also money, because the show that remains pays the library. The sponsors of it, the businesses that are shouted out on it and advertised on it. Whereas Book of the Day was just us talking about books, and we weren't that far off from being able to monetize and drive money to the Friends of the Library. It would have been an objectively good thing. It's still smart. It's just a bit. Speaking of publishing, I'm so glad you are willing to complete Odd Dog by the end of the year and put it out by 2024. And it won't be Odd Dog. It would be 1,000 pages, but it won't be Odd Dog. No, it'll be fiction to the extent that Odd Dog is not fiction. What's the matter, baby? Huh? What's the matter with the baby? Oh, just feeling a little tired. It's been a little more active day than the last week because we haven't been socked with rain. Jenny Park says with pics. No idea what that means. Also says more Frida yoga. Yes, you got. There were 3 examples of Frida yoga today. You just saw one on this Steve stream. One was in a video of mine, and one was I did a Zoom chat with Micah Cummins today. And before we started recording, Frida did Frida yoga, and then I thought that was her one and only time she would do it this day, and that therefore BookTube would miss it. Instead, you get 2 more. So let's see here. J. Scott Phillips, Frida's dedication to yoga is inspiring. Did you teach her those disciplines? No. Although my surly houseboy has a mat on the floor of the room he uses when he's here, and does some yoga. I've never seen it. I think you'd be able to hear the cracking noises where you are if I were to try it. Trish Bovell, I have a suspicion that you would happily be paid for making videos if Megastuff or in Megastuff Oreos. There may or may not be some on the way. I don't. I I don't want to raise this subject most of all, obviously, but I just don't like the idea of money being involved directly in video making. I can't help but think that it eventually shapes what you do. And I don't want that. I don't want to be shaped by an algorithm or by money in what I do. I've heard lots of people tell me, no, 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 it's still me. I'm still real. It's still me. But if you are seeing, if you have money attached to your videos and you're seeing that one kind of video makes 3 times as much money as the other, you're only human. It's just human nature that you will start to make more of that video, whether you want to or not. Oh, Fit to be Read is here. If I thought more about it, I could articulate why, but I'll just leave it at I have full aversion to the coronation pageant. Couldn't be less interested. Well, it's not everybody's cup of tea. It's certainly mine. It's living history, which I've had quite a bit of um, in the 21st century so far. Quite a bit of it. Some reason, even while I was going through the pandemic and an armed insurrection to overthrow the government of my country, totally historic events. For some reason, in the back of my mind, I wasn't thinking that that a 170-year-old Queen of England would certainly die, and that there would be a new monarch. Some reason that didn't occur. It's amazing to me to think that there's a third Charles now. That is just amazing to me. Matt Sheridan, howdy everyone, and happy Saturday, Steve. Yes, it's Saturday. I just realized that when I was looking at the computer screen that I've got 65 people here on a Saturday night on a Steve stream. I don't know if I'm doing something really right or something. If you're all doing something really wrong. Uh, uh, let's see here. That reading guy. Will you publish the War and Peace of Tentacle Fiction? I could. I wouldn't do it right away because it's very niche, and I want to see if I can plant this on 2 feet. I don't know. I don't know because I don't know what publishing entails. If I knew that, then I might know better the parameters of what I would try to publish. But I don't. I'm still looking at countless YouTube videos, how to publish on Amazon or just in general or whatever. Not finding much in the way that's useful. I really, really not much. I kind of think maybe all these instructional videos agree that you should have a manuscript first before you even attempt to learn about the process. You should have a manuscript. And as much as I hate to do it for a trial run, I'm thinking maybe Troy War. Take out Troy War, compile it all into one document, read through it very carefully, then hire an editor to read through it again, a proofreader to read through it again, then format it, and then I would have something. Either that or the Books of Power, that collection of book reviews. But anyway, Brandon H., do you know any good novels about Germany's occupation of France? I liked Anthony Doerr's book a lot. Sure that I do. Not off the top of my head, though. Paul Marin, I can, if I, excuse me, if I can offer any help with a book cover, Steve, I'll oil up. If I thought you were the real Paul Marin, I'd take you up on that in a heartbeat. Reading with Ghosts, hi, Steve. I would buy and read all the books you publish. Well, one of the things I would like to do, if I can get this off the ground, and I see so many examples of people getting it off the ground who don't have two brain cells to rub together. So I can't help but think that either it doesn't require brain cells or it requires money. The more I think about this, the more I think that what we're really talking about here is money, a starting stake of money, which not everyone has. But Kindle is not the only service that absolutely swears up and down that you do not need any money. I don't know. But what I was saying was, with reading Ghosts, what I was saying was, ideally, what I'd like to do is have a lot of books, a lot of different kinds, so that there's no reason not to. So there's no reason not to. Anyway, Jenny Parks, it's Sunday here. Well, it's Saturday evening here. Loud, everybody's out having fun, doing drag races and whatnot. And I brought up that ceramic pot. I brought up the pot with earth in it, and I planted daisies. I put daisy seeds in it, tamped them all down. I brought the pot out to the kitchen sink and churned all the earth, stirred it all around, watered it. I don't have any fertilizer here, and it's not going to have sunlight until tomorrow. But the seed packet that I had for daisies said that it's okay to grow them indoors and that they don't require a whole lot. We will see. We will see. I will keep an eye on it. Paul Marin is back. We're just a bunch of book nerd homebodies. Well, you're all going to have to go eventually, right? Out to the bars and out clubbing, and so would I. Fit to be read. My favorite thing to do is individual book reviews. Oh, wait, I lost you. Where did you go? It's individual book reviews, which the algorithm I'm sure does not love. It's a pet peeve when I see booktubers stop doing reviews when they realize that, but they do realize that. It's almost inevitable that it's certainly been true in almost all the cases that I've seen, where the minute somebody links income to what was before a hobby that was entirely governed by their own interests, suddenly their behavior changes. Their interests don't change. And the ultimate exponent of that, the thing at the all the way at the end of the spectrum of that, are the many, many, 100,000, 200,000 subscriber booktubers who hate what they do. They only do it for the algorithm and the income, and they hate it. They absolutely hate it. It's, Paul Marin says, homebodies, LOL, I mean hard bodies. J. Scott Phillips, I remember a Time magazine issue back in 1978 with Prince Charles on the cover with the headline, The Man Who Will Be King. I was excited just because of the Kipling reference. Well, yeah, all of the biographies of him that came out. There was one by, I want to say the author's name was Holden, that was really good, but it was literally 50 or 60 years ago. Uh, no good with it now. Now the stampede in British publishing is for biographies of King Charles. I wouldn't do that. I would wait. I mean, his story hasn't changed. He's just there's coronation at the end of it. RTL is the project to gather and publish your reviews still moving forward. I would like it to. I don't really know, but I would like it to. I would like it that to move forward alongside anything else that I do. I, that took a lot of work on Alex's part, but I would like the Books of Power is a collection of writings of mine, reviews of mine about the U.S. presidency and U.S. presidential issues. And the flip side of that that I would like is the Power of Books, which collects all the writing that I've done about reading and about books, and does the same thing. So collect it all, segment it all, streamline it all, take out all of the dead links, all of the gibberish, all of the filler, all that sort of stuff. Uh, Format it all in one place, scrupulously proofread it, that sort of thing. Devise a cover for that, and then those two would go together: the Books of Power and the Power of Books. But the key difference between those two books and anything else that I'm talking about is that those two books are being done by somebody else. Alex is doing those, or it has done them, put a lot of work into them. Whereas the publishing that I'm thinking of, I would be doing entirely by myself. And I just don't know what the curve is there. I'm never going to be a good cover designer, for instance. I mean, never in terms of moving things around on a computer program. I can design a good cover. I know what a good cover looks like. But making one, I don't know. I don't know how any of that works. Maybe I just need to finally learn how that works, which, I'm not leaving a whole lot of time to myself to find out how all that works if I'm making 4 hours of videos every day. But not that I want to complain. uh, let's see here. That reading guy, how was King Charles III's coronation compared to the previous two King Charleses, considering you were the eternally 28-year-old wandering Jew? No, I've never been a member of the chosen people. And don't get me started about King Charles II. Okay? Don't get me started about King Charles II. Lots and lots of bad blood between myself and the previous King Charles. This King Charles has a clean slate, but the previous King Charles, simply Google the Popish plot when you get a minute. Anyway, On Point says the car engines that sound like fireworks and gunfire are a scourge on humanity. They are everywhere here in Brooklyn. Yeah, it's a specific service that you go. You go to no car sounds that way. You go to the garage and have it souped up so that it will sound like the end of the world. So that you'll be breaking local noise ordinances, but the idea is you're driving, so you're not breaking it long enough for anyone to catch you. But, and mechanics at these soup up shops will tell the car owner this is really bad for the car. You're destroying your car to do this. They don't care. Make it as loud as you can. Turn all the noise to maximum and point it outside the car. I want to ruin the moment that I pass by anyone with this. I want it to sound like an aircraft carrier. Anyway, Matt Sheridan, this summer I'm hoping to start The Fall of Berlin 1945 by Anthony Beevor. It's a subject I've been wanting to learn more about. do you mean this summer you're hoping to start? Why can't you read it this weekend? Instead of you're hoping to start. Oh, you probably have a full life, don't you? Don't you? Well, it was a subject that you like. And The Fall of Berlin by Anthony Beaver is really good, but you should also read The Last Battle by Cornelius Ryan, which was a great narrative history of the same subject done a generation earlier. They very much complement each other. If you're interested in the one, you'll be interested in the other. Deep in the Reads, I'm personally trying to stick to mostly doing video book reviews because it's the content I want to see. I'm not that interested in book hauls or things that don't actually discuss the book's content. Right. Well, of course I love book hauls and whatnot. And in my book hauls and mail hauls, I tend to do a lot of discussing of the book's content anyway. But I love them, and I love seeing them on other channels. But if I didn't, I wouldn't do them. You're entirely right. If I didn't like that content, I wouldn't do it. And I don't think the people who are suddenly find themselves making $1,000 a month off YouTube, I don't think they have the luxury to think that way anymore. And that bothers me. Maybe I should never have spat fire about it the way I have in previous videos, but it still bothers me. It introduces an unavoidable element of dishonesty into what I like to think of as conversation. I have been told, rudely and otherwise, that there are other ways to look at this. That just because you look at it as a conversation doesn't mean that's what it is. Okay, fair. But the type that I want to do and the type that I like to watch is a conversation. Oh, and speaking of which, speaking of liking to watch, last night Stevestream, uh, I kept groping for a writing channel that I really liked. It's called John Writing. That's the name of the video of the channel. It's not the one that one of you suggested that was like Jed Carnarvon or something like that. It wasn't a Nord. It was a boring title for the channel, and I remembered that it was a boring title. I didn't remember the title, and now it's John Writing. That's the channel that I'm talking about. The writing channel. One of the only things on AuthorTube. I don't think he identifies his channel as being part of AuthorTube, but it's one of the only writing related things I've found in a week of searching that has been good. But anyway, Link Joker. I've been watching / reading interviews with self-published comic creators and writers, and it's really gotten me seriously interested in self-publishing novels for the sheer creative freedom. Yes, yes, this is not your grandfather's vanity publishing anymore. There is no stigma to this left at all. None at all. The one and only thing you don't get is the thrill of walking into a brick and mortar bookstore and seeing your book. That's it. Just that moment. That's it. That's all. That's the only thing that traditional mainstream gatekeeping publishing can offer you. That's it. Imagine how small that is. The books look just as good. They can, depending on how much money you put into them, they can look just as good. They can read just as good, be edited just as good. You still get to call them. You still get to say, I'm so and so, the author of such and such, and you have complete freedom. No, there's no contest at all. None whatsoever. Uh, anyway, Leo Percara, there has to be a book about the Popish plot. Yes, there is. There's a very good book about the Popish plot from about, I would guess now, about 100 years ago. It's called The Popish Plot. It's probably about 100 years old. It's really, really good. There hasn't been a new one in quite some time. Unbelievable story. Just unbelievable. An unbelievable story about the weakness of King Charles II. Among other things. I mean, it's the story of the venality and stupidity of Titus Oates and a bunch of other things, but mainly the weakness of Charles II, who was talk to this lunatic and was willing to actually say to his face, nothing of what you're saying is true. I know that it's not true, just factually. You're obviously making all of this up, and yet, and yet, anyway, no, don't get me started. Winterlinde. In Hamburg, there is a police that stops those loud cars. They will be fined and have to build their cars back to normal before they can get them back on the streets. There ought to be here as well. Those cars have all been severely modified specifically to be obnoxious. Not any other reason. It doesn't make them faster. It very much hurts the car. Doesn't matter. That reading guide today, I bought 47 books for $11 at a local used bookstore sale. A mouthwatering collection of Penguin classics and authors. Good Lord. 47 books for $11. And you're sending them all to me? Aren't you nice? You're the sweetest thing. You're always threatening me. On Point says, is The Recognitions one of the only books widely praised by Dude Bro Lit that is worth reading? Yeah, there aren't many. That's a video on its own that I ought to do. I always make it sound like if Dubrow likes it, it's bad, and that's not true. There's a small handful of books that they like that are still good. The Recognition would be one, although most Dubrows don't read it. Also, Women and Men by McElroy that is really really good, and they tend to say they like it. Uh, it's yeah, it is one of the only books widely praised that Dubrows actually like or say they like. Colo Colo 1546. Hi Steve, why not start with a book that compiles your year-end list, including your Donahue interregnum years? After all, in about 10 minutes you'll be. Oh, you know what? I say that about you. It's not true about me. But that's an excellent idea. That is an excellent idea. List books do really well. And if I were careful and went mostly with went with copyright free material, I could fill it with illustrations. Those are a nightmare to format. But maybe I'm not doing this. The idea that keeps cropping to my mind, which kind of defeats the purpose of what I'm talking about, would be to tap one of you to do all of the practical stuff that I don't think I know how to do. Either one of you, and not necessarily one of you in the chat right now, but somebody to find somebody and say to do the Alex stuff. What Alex did for the Books of Power. I can't ask him to take time off from his job in order to do books for me, but I don't know how I could ask anybody because I couldn't pay them. It would be some sort of I don't know profit sharing thing or something or other where somebody else says you gather the material, you pay for the proofreader, the cover designer, whatnot. But I will do all of the practical stuff. I will figure out the formatting, the precise, coding of the publication and whatnot. The idea of coming up with bundle sales or timing or whatnot. I'll do all of that, or at least I'll help you with it. A publishing partner is what I need, and I don't have one of those. But the year-end list that I've done, oh my god, they're a perfect candidate for a little book. It doesn't have to be a long thing. Especially, they would be a perfect candidate if I went through and expanded on them, and I could easily do that. Anyway, RTL LTR, are you reading anything of for horror mayhem? Yes, I am. Uh, what is it? Well, I got a Penguin Classic volume of Algernon Blackwood, but there's something else that's on my iPad, which is charging right now. There's something else there's a horror novel on my iPad. Also, I'm rereading Animals by Skip Inspector, who wrote a horror novel called The Light at the End, a vampire novel that I really like. I'm rereading their book Animals. I just haven't made a video, and I really should. I don't know why I haven't made videos for Horror Mayhem. I'm one of the hosts, and the month is almost a week old, so I really need to get to that. Although, again, not to beat a dead horse or to make you feel guilty or anything, but 3 hours of Steve videos in one day today probably means I need to cut back a little tomorrow. I don't know. I don't. There are only so many hours in the day. But anyway, J. Scott Phillips, we don't have the thrill of walking into a brick and mortar bookstore anymore. Anyway, well, yeah, it's true. I don't. Well, unless I keep hearing fantastic stories about Beacon Hill Books, uh, which is it's across the common from the Brattle. I haven't actually walked over there and seen what it's like, but I've seen pictures and little video clips on Instagram, and it looks amazing. It looks just amazing. I don't know what it'd be like to buy a book there. It's being billed on Instagram and elsewhere as a great place to bring a bookish date. Uh, I don't know what the bookstore itself is like, and the problem is I like to bundle all of my exertions. I'm very old and I'm very frail, so I like to bundle my exertions. The idea of going over here to X, doing one thing, then turning around and coming back because that's the only thing I wanted to do. That's anathema. That's just anathema to me, and that would be what this is. That's what I would have to. If I went to Beacon Hill Books, I would have to do that. Curiosity ought to make me do that, but the curiosity would be bound up with it becoming a regular bookstore haunt of mine, and it certainly won't be. I know already that it won't be. There's nothing else there for me to do. I don't know. I don't know, but even if I attend bookstores like that, that moment of walking in and taking the obligatory picture of your book in a bookstore is the only thing left that mainstream publishing can give you that self-publishing can't. That one and only thing. That is, it's so absurd that people would, in order to get that one thing, surrender so much, so much. 85% of the profit from your book, 90 or 100% of the creative control over your book, all for that one moment. Come here. Come on, you can do it. She jumps down. But come on, you can do it. Come on, Frida, you can do it. There you go. Good girl. Anyway, that reading guy, Steve, you should ask all the booktubers who all self-publish their own books, like David Wiley or Sean D. Stanfest. Yeah, David Wiley would be a good brain to pick. I haven't done it, but I probably should. Uh, I don't know what he'd be able to tell me. Let's see here. Is it The Popish Plot, a study in the history of the reign of King Charles II by John Pollock? Because it's on Gutenberg. It is Pollock's book. You're telling me that's on Project Gutenberg? God, I don't have anything to write that down with. I won't remember that. I won't remember to look for it. Oh, that is so frustrating. Does it have a cover on Project Gutenberg? It didn't have much of a cover to write home about anyway. That's the one. Ah, I'll never remember to even look. The closest, I don't have any writing utensils, and the closest paper that I have is this thing, which I'm certainly not going to write a note in. Oh, very frustrating. Anyway, um, but yes, it's a great reading experience. In addition to being the best book on the subject, it really is a great reading experience in the way that old histories could sometimes be. You will love it. Uh, that reading guide, pay an intern with books from the Brattle. Well, I don't know. Intern sounds like such a demeaning term. I don't know. I was just going to say I do need help, but I don't know that. I don't know that I need help. Plenty of people, as I keep saying, plenty of people without two brain cells to rub together apparently don't need help to get their book not only published but shoved in front of my nose so that I can write a review about it. If they can do it, I can do it. If they can do it without help, I can do it without help. I think I should at least try it on my own once, even if I end up going with someone else. Paul Marin, did you get many indie published authors? Find one whose designs you like, cover format, etc. Call up the publisher for the next steps. Yeah, you've got a pretty good brain in that chiseled face of yours, don't you? That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea at all. Find an indie. Wait until I get a well-designed, well-produced indie book, and contact the publisher. They don't have to know that I got it through Publishers Weekly. They don't have to know anything at all about that. I could contact them and find out what are your terms. That's not a bad idea at all. All right, Paul Marin, you can stick around. Just don't put your clothes on. Deep in the reads. Speaking of King Charles, I'm planning on reading a few books about the 1600s in England. Eager to get to it. Well you should be, but you haven't consulted me, and you kind of have to. That's the nature of this parasocial relationship. You don't think you can just walk in and walk out as you please. You haven't consulted me about what you're reading on the subject. When the England in the 1600s was the scene for the second, third, and fourth marriage to Deb that I had. So kindly run titles by me, okay? And also, of course, a request list if you want me to look for stuff at the Brattle. Jenny Parks, remember you? We would also love a collected collection of your ex Libris articles. They're a natural candidate, aren't they? A natural candidate. I've done hundreds of them now, and I've done enough for a book now, and I have plenty of books over just across the room here that are exactly that. They're collections of columns like that, and I specifically write them so that usually they're not dateable. They would transplant very well to a book. Shell Holsenbake, there is a group on indie romance writers that do lives once in a while. They discuss publishing, etc. Also, there's an SFF publishing channel hosted by Lindsay Brucker. Would you like info email? I could try it, sure. I'm in the vacuum cleaning stage now. I'm hungry to know all of this stuff. Matt Sheridan. Now I have to read Cornelius Ryan's book. So much to do. I'm researching for a potential horror story. I can find you a copy of Cornelius Ryan's book. Just say the word. If you live in the lower 48, I will send it to you. Lou G. I lost you. Wait, where did you go? I'm lucky enough to have an independent bookstore in my city, as well as a used bookstore with high standards. Yeah, I've got a really good used bookstore, but I don't have a convenient retail bookstore. Beacon Hill Books would be the one that's actually a 10-minute walk from my front door. Is Well, it's a shorthand word, but we're all friends here. They're woke. They're terminally woke. Uh, you will all know what I mean by that. They're minatory and censorious and judgmental, and I wouldn't give them business. They wouldn't do any business with me. I'm sure that they wouldn't acknowledge me or check out my purchases at the register. I'm a white man. I don't know if Beacon Hill Books is the same way. They could easily be the same way. I would imagine that you have to be that way to get a business loan. But either way, I haven't gone in to see what they're like. So all I've got is now used bookstores. The Spaminator, down with mainstream publishing. Well, not down with it. You're always looking for an enemy to defeat with a scissor jump, aren't you? No, I'm not down with, but they don't have a leg to stand on. They really don't. Mainstream publishing used to say it's the respectable way to do it. You wouldn't want a vanity press and get a box of books that you're going to hand out at the cookout, do you? It's They used to say we're respectable, and when you sign on as a St. Martin's author, we will take care of you. We will set up publicity events. We will fly you to them. We will make sure that everything works out. We will work to sell your book. They don't do that anymore. For 9 out of 10 authors, they send you a box of your books, say put this in your car and hit the road. Start flogging this thing. They don't help barely at all, and they pay just what they did in 1960. So no, no, not down with mainstream publishing, but they don't have a leg to stand on anymore. There is no. Once upon a time, the shame would stop people. There isn't any shame anymore. Now in 2023, you are so and so, the author of such and such. Nobody's going to care where it was published. They're only going to care if they can get it on their Kindle. This guy's interesting. Can I download his book? They're not going to care. What who They're going to want to read it. That's all. They're not going to care. Oh, is he a Knopf man? Ridiculous. Paul Marin. Honestly, I use weekends to catch up on the week's videos. If you only did 2 videos a day, is still 10 videos in one sitting for me. Well, the point is, I don't do 2 videos a day. I have fallen into the habit of doing 5 videos a day. And I get emails from people saying, could you bump that up to 6? When there's no one else on this platform, not just on BookTube, but anywhere on YouTube who does that. No one does this, much less regularly does it. It's just, anyway. Leo Percar, how many sensitivity readers will you be using before publishing? I will not be using any. I may hire an insensitivity reader. J. Scott Phillips, if you get to a point where you need book cover design, I may be able to help out. Well, I will. I will need help with all of this. I'll need someone who can. Maybe not. Maybe I don't. Maybe I can do it all myself. Uh, but I don't know. I don't know. I have to admit, the idea of making this a kind of cooperative with me and friends, with all of you, is really attractive. That is a really attractive idea. Uh, Especially since, well, I don't know. I'm still pondering on it, obviously. Uh, let's see here. So the Spaminator says Juan at Plagued by Visions would be another booktuber to ask about self-publishing. True. That reading guy, this is not the appropriate place to discuss your brain cells, Steve. Link Joker, if the chances of being a successfully published author are so slim anyway, why not cut out the middleman and languish in obscurity without needing to deal with the gatekeepers? Yeah, your book is going to get ignored and drop like a stone anyway, with only one exception in 1,000, in a million. And the exception, the one exception in 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000, it's going to happen to you whether you're self-published or traditionally published. Traditional publishers can't affect that outcome. They can't make a book suddenly be a phenom. Obviously, publishing is now full of stories of people who made their first million self-publishing and then got a mainstream deal. The mainstream publishing doesn't have anything to recommend it anymore except that one moment. Oh, I walked into B. Dalton and saw my book. uh, Deep in the reads, but I have consulted you on the subject of 1600 England Rebellion by Ackroyd and Instant the Finger Post are the 2 books I plan on reading, period. Saw your views of both. Oh, good. Very good. All right. You may proceed. Let's see here. Brandon H. Dude Bro can definitely be done well. The Sun by Philip Meyer, for example. Okay. All right. I hadn't thought of that, but I would agree with your characterization that that is Dude Bro, and certainly Dude Bro lovers don't read it, and it is good. Okay, all right, a little bit odd, but all right, I will let that pass. uh, the Spaminator. What Cornelius book, Ryan book, are we talking about? I missed that. The Final Battle, I think is what it's called. Fall of Berlin. Randy Ray is back. I want to be your insensitivity reader. So, on point. Do you find the NYRB Classics choice of titles to print a bit baffling? It's very hit or miss for me. It's incredibly hit or miss for me. Incredibly so. I love what they're doing, but I almost never love the actual books they produce. Almost never. I, I love the idea that they're out there and that they're churning out all of these interesting, really well done reprint volumes. That is only healthy for the industry. But they've almost never picked a book I like. It's almost never. What? There are over 1,000 titles by now. Let's see here. That reading guy, you should have known that we demand more and more videos from you when you married us. 5 videos a day, and they're not, a Helix mattress commercial. They've all got content too. They've all got meat on their bones. 5 a day. That's. I was a little bit taken aback when somebody emailed me and said, "Could you do 6 a day?" That was that it took me aback. There's a wonderfully touching story attached to it. I don't know that I have the permission to say the story, but it wasn't obnoxious. There was a wonderful, touching story attached to that request. But even so, it got me thinking that no one else does this. No one else does this at all. Uh, and yet, no Patreon, no ads, no AdSense revenue, no nothing. Should be making me independently wealthy. I should be able to quit the box factory. Uh, Spaminator will also be happy to be an insensitivity reader. Randy Ray says, I meant to watch this whole thing live, but my daughter showed up. Priorities. Okay? Paisan, priorities. Eyes on the prize. What you should do in this circumstance is tell your good for nothing daughter to sit down and watch too. So demanding that you split your attention. Good Lord. Randy Ray is back after I vilified his daughter. Nightmare Alley was my second from that publisher. My first was Stoner. I'm sure you've read both. I've read both. I have indeed. Randy Ray, I liked both of them, but I probably preferred Nightmare Alley. It made a great double feature with Geek Love. Well, you probably preferred Nightmare Alley because Stoner, despite everything that you've heard from the serried ranks of Dude Bro, stinks. Jenny Parks, it's not our fault. We're addicted to your raven hair and chiseled abs. Ooh, well, thank you. No, you're addicted to that. This is what you're addicted to. You can't fool me. But anyway, we're going to start to wrap this up, right? Because we're going to end at 10 past the hour. I wanted to vent, first of all, and I wanted to clarify that I'm looking for publishing advice or maybe publishing help. And I also wanted to update you all that I did indeed bring the ceramic pot up from the porch and plant daisy seeds. I watered it. I will water it again. If I can get my surly houseboy to get me garden variety, literally garden variety fertilized spray, I'll use that. And we will see what happens. We will see if it grows anything. I'm up for it, totally. Uh, uh, let's see here. That reading guy is referring to the Spaminator. Steve recommends you test out different translations and go with the one you like the best for whatever it was. What was it? Did I miss something? Oh, The Hunchback, Notre Dame. Yeah, I do recommend that. That is my standard recommendation. It bugs me when nobody here, but sometimes people who aren't familiar with my channel and with my oft repeated doctrine that A, we are friends, and B, everything's better if you think for yourself. People who aren't familiar with that will sometimes email me. They signal right away. They give themselves away by saying, "Dear Mr. Donahue." They signal right away that that's where they are, and they will say, "I know you say read a whole bunch of translations and pick the one that you like the best, but I'd really appreciate it if you just tell me which one to read." I never know what to say to those people. I always want to respond with, "Well, I'm not going to," or I want to go into a Monty Python bit. You've got to work it out for yourselves, but I'm not going to do that. That is the way to do it. You're going to be you can go back and read other translations all you want if you love the book, but you're going to spend the whole of this time with the translator, so it better be someone you like. Geo Craftsman, I can't believe Randy Ray would split his attention between Steve and his daughter. The way social media has destroyed our attention spans and priorities is disgusting. I agree. What's wrong with him? After all, he can see her any old day. Oh wait, I was. He can also see me for 3 hours a day, can't he? Oh my! All right, I don't have much of a case there. Oh, Randy Ray is back. We're all dying to know how many hours you sleep at night. Still, it's very few. It's very very few. I I slept I think an hour or two last night, something like that, and then this afternoon, no, early this morning, mid morning today. Bean and I went out. We walked all around, had a bunch of fun. Came back, and I fixed us both breakfast. And then she wanted to just go back into the little book room, crawl onto the bed, and nap. I thought, oh well, you know, you want to do that? I'll gladly do. Yeah, I don't have to nap. I'll just. But you. She wanted to nap with me, pressed against my leg, so I have to be there. She can't go off and do it herself. So I did, and then I napped without foreseeing it and without intending it. Never happens. Absolutely never happens. So I will not be sleeping tonight. Tonight I'll be reading straight until dawn. Uh, but anyway, where were we here? Oh, right. Paul Marin is back. I get ads with everything on YouTube, even from creators who say they don't monetize. Get paid, Steve. I have put this to a large number of people who watch my channel, and the best impression I get is that no matter what people say, that phenomenon generally does not happen on my channel. That people do generally do not see ads on my channel, even though I'm not monetized. If I thought that YouTube was regularly putting ads, unskippable or blocks of ads on my videos, whether I want them to or not, I would apply for the partnership program. And if they're going to do it anyway, then they might as well pay me a minuscule fraction of the money that it gets them. But the impression I get from the people I talk to is that that is not happening on my channel. So I'm holding out here. The Spaminator, that reading guy, I know that, but that's not what I asked. What's he think is some okay? I don't understand the wording of this question. I don't want to get it wrong. That reading guy says, "Dear Mr. Donahue," or "Esteemed book reviewer." Well, no, esteemed book reviewer will be one of you. It will be somebody who's in on the joke, the ongoing joke of this whole channel, because I read that in a video and mocked it in a video. It's "Dear Mr. Donahue" that gets me. That's when I know that somebody's just found this channel, maybe watched for a week or two, and does not get is just assuming if you watch YouTube maybe not so much this little area of booktube, but maybe so. But certainly YouTube. If you watch YouTube and you like a video, so you watch a couple more, and then maybe you do go on a little binge, so you're watching two or three a day. There is very much that distance, that parasocial distance. This is a person on the screen. You don't know them. They come from a world. You don't have any idea what that world is. No one knows them. They are only performing. It's someone on a TV. And if they're telling you, please get in touch with me, feel free, here's my email, it's going to be a very formal process. You might take them up on it, but it's definitely going to be, "Dear Mr. Donahue, I'm sorry to bother you. I know your time is precious," that sort of thing. It's you have to be watching this channel, this particular channel, for a little bit of time uh, to realize that that is fundamentally not true. That I am not interested in that experience at all, and I never have been. And I have just crafted the world of this channel so that it's just not that at all. That's the sort of thing we make fun of here. And if somebody has been watching long enough to get that, then they absolutely won't write me an email saying, "Dear Mr. Donahue." They absolutely won't do that. So it tends to give them away. But esteemed book reviewer is part of the joke because somebody wrote that to me. It was kind of funny because I'm not an esteemed book reviewer. Plenty of book reviewers that I know are esteemed. They get invited to galas and they get put their names put up for awards. Yeah, but when they're wondering the 15 books from 2 months from now that they should or should not pay attention to, who are they going to call? The old rat killer. "I never wear this coat except when I'm in your court. It was always good enough for you when you needed what was in it." Sorry. Where's David Murphy when I need him? Let's see here. You people aren't acting like we're wrapping this up. That's for sure. Uh, RTL says it's the translation with his blurb on it. Well, of course, that goes without saying. If you've got an array of translations to choose from, and one of them has a blurb from me, pick that one. Obviously, that goes without saying. Randy Ray, I'm a 9 hours a night guy, but since I got sick, it's even more than that. Yes, yes. Once you get sick and start taking the medication, chemo, oh my God, you become a sleeping machine. It's all you do. It's easier to count the hours you're awake. Uh, but 9 hours a night. I've known many, many, many people, and I live with some. Frida sleeps. I would say she's probably up to 15 hours a day, and she's not that far off. It's going to feel like 2 minutes to me when she's sleeping 20 hours a day. For years, she will do that. Many, many, many is the person, friend, lover, where I have just been, oh, I'm just waiting. That's all. I'll read and then I'll read and then I'll read and I'll just wait. Thank God for the internet and for an e-reader, so that I never anymore have the horrible experience of finishing my book, but I've got someone laying on top of me, so I can't go get another one. I'm just going to sit there and mentally twiddle my thumbs, waiting hours, hours for you people. Anyway, uh, On Point says, "Does A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara deserve all the praise it has gotten? It even has a play now. It has a play, yes, and it's also got the mother of all takedowns by Christian Lorenzen, who's one of the greatest writers in my profession, the mother of all eviscerations. I like it. I think it does deserve a lot of its praise, but when Christian's on, he's really on. That reading guy is answering the Spaminator. Since when were you supposed to care about what you asked? We will grossly misinterpret your words whenever we want. Oh, I wouldn't taunt the supervillain if I were you. Paul Marin, there is a May of the Moderns read. Read anything from 1900 to 1945. On the spot, bit. Can I get 3 Steve picks? 1900 to 1945. Kim by Rudyard Kipling. USA by John Dos Passos. And To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. Those all fit, don't they? I think they do. I'm terrible with dates, but those all fit, I think. Link Joker says, being a self-published author has the added benefit of just being sexier. You're doing it your way on your terms, and that just sounds cooler to say. Well, I agree, although scientifically it's not possible for me to get any sexier. But theoretically, sure. Randy Ray, I have YouTube Premium, so I don't see ads, period. I had someone try to call me out on getting an ad they saw on my channel, but that clearly didn't have anything to do with me since I'm too small. Well, I don't know if my channel, just completely bald, without ad block, without YouTube Premium, without anything, I still don't know if people actually see ads on my channel. I don't know. I'd like to think that if YouTube were going to do that, it would have to tell me, but maybe not. But when that happens, I will monetize my channel because I don't want to lose this conversation if I can have it. And a lot of you don't care. But it hasn't happened yet, as far as I know. It hasn't. Uh, Daniel Marlett says, not as sexy as being a book reviewer. Please, no one thinks that being a book reviewer is sexy. No one does. Randy Ray, monetize anyway. Well, I don't want to I don't want to monetize any if I don't have to. Why would I do that? I I know that it doesn't matter to anybody who watches my channel. I know that most people have some form of ad block or something like that, but not without needing to. Why would I do that? If I didn't have to, if YouTube isn't making me do it, then YouTube is asking me to do it. They're saying, "Do you want to make money off this?" And I don't. Uh, the Spaminator, that reading guy, you're starting to sound like a semi superhero. You see what I mean? The minute you start to sound that way, if you trigger his supervillain instincts, he might do a high dive pile drive from the upper pylon. You'd be toast. So, Randy Ray is back. Also, today is Orson Welles' 108th birthday. uh, Paul Marin says Steve signs all his emails Excelsior. No, Steve doesn't sign his emails at all. Okay, because Steve's not old. Dylan M, it's true. You've made a very welcoming environment on your channel. Perhaps the only channel where the host can scold me or upturn my preconceptions and still make smile whilst doing it. Well, that's a very great compliment. But to be fair, you all do that to me as well. Uh, this is exactly what I want. I get exactly what I want from this channel. I would say I would estimate probably 2,500 people that get me, and I get them. We get the sense of humor here. We don't have to agree. It's lively. It's fun. It's supportive. It's all that, all the stuff that's in the BookTube brochure that so often ends up not being true. So often ends up where if I make a video about excoriating so-called big booktubers who hate their viewers and would call a lawyer if a viewer approached them on the street, and some stranger shows up in the comments field of that video and leaves a comment saying, "Oh, this guy would do the same thing," before I can even do anything, that person will have 15 responses saying, "He invited me to his living room," or "I went to his living room. He invited me and I went." 15 people will show up and say, "Nope, nope, you're just wrong. That's not that." The rest of YouTube, a lot of the rest of YouTube might be like that, but this isn't. And I like that. I very much like that. J. Scott Phillips, maybe they mean esteemed book reviewer. Sometimes I am. I often am. But I need to, among the many other things that I need to do, I need to do another open letters review because the latest one is my review of Shotgun Conservationist, and it's pretty brutal. I need to put up another review up there. Well, when you're making 3 hours of videos a day, you don't have all the time in the world. So, that reading guy, quote, "Dear Mr. Donahue, are you a snob like me?" versus esteemed book reviewer, "Here are the topless pictures you requested. By the way, any good book." Now, if I were the creepy kind of YouTube influencer, I would be asking for topless pics, but instead, I don't ask for anything, and instead, you people send me the only porn that matters, which is pictures of your dogs. People send me pictures of their puppies all the time, all the time. It's wonderful. That reading guy is answering the Spaminator. "Can you please stop slandering me in this chat?" You two are headed for trouble. You're headed for a massive battle royale, the clash of the titans. Uh, Gypsy Rose says, "I've never seen an ad on your channel." Most people, 99% of the people I've asked, have not. So I don't know what explains the 1%, but I'm not willing to sell out to YouTube to become a partner on the basis of 1%. It's like Mike Vaughn says when the subject comes up on his channel. I don't. The last thing I need is another boss. I, I don't need another job. This is a hobby, and I agree with that. That is how I think about it. Unless YouTube takes the decision out of my hands, and I don't think they have. Jenny Parks, have you not read YA romance? You need to lean in doorways. Are treat everyone. Okay, I don't understand the wording here at all. The Spaminator, that reading guy, don't worry, your semi-secret identity is safe with me. Turn back, rubs hands together, laughs maniacally, and twirls mustache. Haven't I warned you about the mustache twirling in the chat? Randy Ray, no, I'm too small to monetize anyway. I just ran out of space. Uh, well, I'm pretty sure that I could monetize my channel, but I don't want to. I don't want to. It's another thing to keep track of. Another thing, I'm sure that YouTube would make sure that I knew about those metrics, and I don't want to know them. I don't want to know the metrics on my channel at all. I'm perfectly happy when I make a comic book video, for instance, like I did today, to joke about the fact that no one's going to watch it, but I don't want to care whether or not anyone's watching it. I want to make. I'm perfectly happy to make a joke about that, but I don't want that. That's those don't do well. I really like them, but they don't do well. How many booktubers do I hear say that kind of crap? But I'd love to make this kind of video, but I won't because it doesn't do well. That's like, ugh. J. Scott Phillips, I started getting pre-roll ads on my channel too, yet I'm light years from being able to monetize. MKV's channel has them too. I have never seen them on Mike's channel. I've never seen them. But you're right. For some reason, I never see them on yours. I, I've never seen them on channels that aren't monetized. I've never seen an ad. Paul Marin is back. Now that you mentioned it, Steve, I can't say for sure if I've ever seen ads on your stuff. I don't think there are any on my channel. That reading guy, Steve, I'm Gen Z. Old guys like the Spaminator don't scare me. I can TikTok your brains into mush. Oh, he's gonna view that as fighting words. You do need to calm things down. The Spaminator says he's never seen an ad on my channel. Jenny Parks, I love your scolding. Your stern points about self-discipline have already increased my reading each year. Well, that's nice to hear. But nevertheless, we're well past 10 past the hour. Don't think I don't notice. We need to wrap this up. But let's continue. We'll rapid fire through these here. Rena is reading. Good night, Stephen Bean. It's been a pleasure. Well, thank you. Paul Marin, sounds like you're winding this chat up. Start looking for those indie books. Good luck. That was an excellent suggestion on your part. I won't do it tonight. I've got a lot of stuff to do tonight. But Monday, yeah, yeah. Not every indie publisher is doing all the work themselves. There are smaller indie publishers where the fruits of my work would still be mine. There exists, I'm sure now that I think about it, there must exist people out there, publishing houses, excuse me, out there who will do this. I just have to see. That's all. I hadn't thought of that. Lou G, Steve doesn't want to monetize his channel. Meanwhile, some of the YouTubers I watch are pushing their locals thing. Oh God, they some YouTube channels, even some BookTube channels, it's all about the money. You can tell that it's all about the money. Ah, I tend not to watch them anymore. And I certainly don't want you encountering that on my channel. No way. Uh, Cheryl Holsenbake, off topic, but I got my copy of One Art today. Oh, very good. The Spaminator, the talk ticks might legitimately be my one kryptonite. Oliver Anderson, hi Steve. I just started reading Devil Land by Claire Jackson. I'm really enjoying it. Wondering what you thought. If I remember correctly, I liked it. But we have to wrap this stream up. We're well past 10 past the hour. I need to fire along here. Rud Lee, I don't know that name at all. Hi, Steve. Nothing to do with monetizing, but my friend had to write a maid of honor speech. Do you have any favorite love quotes to fit in the speech? No. No. I wouldn't put a quote in the speech without knowing literally everything there was to know about the two people involved. There should be a quote anyway. No one's paying any attention. They just want you to shut up. So make it quick, make it funny, and that's that. It'll take 2 seconds to do. You don't need a quote. This is not a, no one's writing it down. This is not going to be in Bartlett's familiar quotations. It should be quick and it should be funny. Uh, Dylan M. Have a good evening, Steve. Best of luck in the self-publishing endeavor. Daniel Martlet. I just finished Elizabeth Bishop's collected poetry. Going to start One Art once this wraps up. Have a good night. That reading guy. Good night, Steve. I have to read chapter 2 of Mills on Liberty for my book club tomorrow. Well, yeah, or you could go outside and bang your head against the sidewalk a few times. I guess same result. The Spaminator. I can help with the love quotes. Yeah, I'm sure you can, but unfortunately, we have to wrap this up. That was a narrow escape, wasn't it? But anyway, I want to thank you all for being here. This was a lot of fun. It was exactly what I needed. I am going to get to work. I'm going to have to leave more self-publishing exploration until next week. Tonight and tomorrow are going to have to be all reading and all work. So uh, I'll just have to get to that, and we will see. But I wouldn't expect. I can't predict the future, but I wouldn't expect 3 hours of videos and what is this? Another hour of a Steve stream. I wouldn't expect 4 hours of Steve tomorrow. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't expect that if I were you. It's crazy. This amount of content every day is crazy. I just love it, but nevertheless, well, I'm going to wrap this up for now, and we will see what tomorrow will bring. Thank you all very much, as usual, for being here. I will wrap this up, and I will see you tomorrow.